Well, hey everybody, Andy here. Thanks for joining me today. And today I'm out hiking the Tecumseh Trail in southern Indiana. It's a beautiful day. I'm out hiking again with my buddy Brent. And we're tackling the 42-mile Tecumseh Trail today. So we started here in Morgan-Monroe State Forest. And it's just about 60 degrees. It's a beautiful day. There's lots of people out day hiking today. We're excited. We're going to head out to the backcountry campsites here today. And we should be able to make it through in about 3 overnights, complete the full trip. So stick with us. And if you're new to the channel, this channel is all about backpacking, outdoor adventure, and gear. Yeah, most definitely gear. And a few tips and tricks along the way. So if any of those things interest you, consider subscribing, and then you'll be alerted every time I post new content. And there's a lot of new content coming. So sit back and relax. Let's dive right in. Wait, what? The trail begins here? What have I been doing for the last mile?
That was your bonus hike.
Yeah, it's just a warm-up.
Getting the blood flowing.
We can sign up here too.
My filter on day one.
Yeah, you have no water for the rest of the time. You can go 4 days without water, right?
I got that.
Oh, then that's what you use this for, right? You could strain it with your bandana. Oh wait, sorry. So we're 5 miles and change in. We're approaching the Low Gap Road, which we're going to cross over here down below and cross the bridge on the far side and then climb the hill up to where all the campsites are in the backcountry area. So, you know, we did the approach trail, which added about a mile or so at the beginning. Normally it's about 5 miles down to the road. For us it'll be about 6. And then about 3 miles to pick a campsite for tonight. See how many people are out there. It's about 5:45 right now, so we've got plenty of time.
That's a first.
Yeah, that's a first, Brent says. So we're not rushing to get there before sundown. We should have plenty of time to get there, hike through, figure out where we want to be. Keeping in mind that tomorrow we have a minimum of 11 miles, maybe as many as 14, depending on where we set up camp. So I can see the road down below here off the ridge. So we're getting close to the camping area. It has been spectacular today. Warm, so much that we've both been sweating. It's been probably right around 60 degrees, give or take a few, but very comfortable. Quite a few people up day hiking up at the beginning of the trail. But once we've split off to head towards the backcountry area, we haven't seen anybody yet. But I'm guessing as we get closer down to the parking lot here down below, which I've stopped at many times for, overnight adventures, that we may see a few cars and we may see a few campers. But it'd be pretty cool if there weren't any. But as busy as it was, I'm expecting to see some. So we're just going to keep hiking along, enjoying the trail. It's a beautiful day, and we'll check back in later as we get closer to setting up camp. All right, I think we found camp for tonight. We're about 8 miles in or so. Went a little further than we were, I think, anticipating, but a lot of the sites down at the bottom by the creek bed were filled. So we started hiking up on the ridge. I knew there was one last site up here that I was aware of, and it was open, so we're going to take it. It's 6:45, so we still got plenty of daylight to get set up, get firewood, get meals cooked, all that stuff before the sun goes down. And we'll be a little bit closer to the trail split tomorrow for the section that loops back to Low Gap, or the section that goes right to follow the Tecumseh Trail. So good day, great weather. There's a nice cool breeze up here on the ridge. Hopefully we have a beautiful night. It's supposed to be a little chilly. I'm going to give you a quick tour of camp and then get to work. So let me show you. And the trail continues that way. You can see the blaze straight ahead. And then off to the right here is this last spot on the ridge. So Brent's going to set up over there. We've got the fire pit a little further down the ridge, and then it just falls off on all sides, so especially down over there. I'm not sure exactly where I'll set up yet, but get up and... Well, so that's home for tonight. I'm gonna get to work, get our tarps up and the hammocks up, and then start collecting firewood and get some food out. So get some water and watch our friends the woodpeckers. So we'll check back in later.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is 8 o'clock. The sun is coming up. You might be able to see it. I'm listening to about a dozen woodpeckers in the area. The mic might pick it up. I slept pretty well last night. It was a little chilly. It says in here right now it's 54 degrees. So, excuse me. My guess is it was probably in the 40s. It was supposed to be about 42 last night. It's always a little bit warmer in here with the top cover on. We had attack of the flying squirrels last night. We had a pair of flying squirrels that were running around the campsite as we were sitting by the fire. And first one we saw was there was a tree right in front of us, and it was just running up and down the tree, and it would come out onto the ground, and it was probably only like 10 feet away from us. I thought, wow, that guy's pretty brave. But he wouldn't come more than a couple inches away from the tree and then run back up. And we were just following him, and he eventually ran 30 feet up the tree and then jumped, did spread eagle kind of thing, and glided over us. We're like, what the heck was that? And then I noticed later they were snooping around my backpack over by the other tree, which is about 20 feet away. So I got up and went over there, and I saw that there were two of them. And I still had some snacks, excuse me, in that bag. So I had to get the snacks out of my hip belt pocket, put them in my bear bag, and that's hung up. You can actually probably see it. It's hung up on the suspension for my hammock. So hopefully that was enough to keep them away. But this is the flying squirrel campsite, we've decided. So that was pretty interesting. You don't see that every day. Well, I'm going to lay here for a while and wake up. I will check back in later. I had these Folger singles. Thought I might as well use them up. I haven't used them in a while. There's like coffee grounds now in my coffee. I miss my AeroPress. Well, good morning, everybody. We are packing up camp. It is almost 11 o'clock, so we took our time cooking breakfast, just relaxing this morning. And we're getting packed up. We've seen a couple groups go by so far, already on trail, so we'll be packed up here before too long, and then we're gonna hike the second part of the Tecumseh Trail today. We're towards the end of the backcountry area, up on the ridge above the creek bottom that's a lot of people camp at. This is one of the further sites, so we've got to hike a little bit further. There'll be the trail split for Tecumseh Trail to the right and Low Gap to the left, and we're going to go right towards Bear Lake, which we guess is about 3 miles from here. We'll do a water supply there, and then hike towards I think it's Fox Den Shelter, which will be the next one. That's somewhere around mile 14,
and then we're going to hike all the way to the Indian Hill Plum Creek area shelter, which is right around I think mile 19 and a half, something like that. So we've got probably about 11 to 12 miles today to do. So a reasonable amount. We've got plenty of time. You know, we've been doing a little bit more than 2 miles an hour the whole time we've been going. So I think we've been averaging about 24-minute miles, even with stops and snacks and whatnot. So plenty of time, having a good time. It was great last night, wasn't too cold. We had a huge gust of wind in the middle of the night, I think for maybe about an hour or something like that, out of nowhere, and then it's completely calm again this morning when we woke up. Got a few shots of the sunrise around 8 o'clock, and then fell back asleep. I woke up at about 9:15, 9:10, something like that. Started getting up, packing up, and getting breakfast. So yeah, we've had a good time so far. A lot more to see. This section I've already done before, so there wasn't anything completely new for me. But shortly, once we hit that trail split, it's going to be all new from there. So excited to see what we've got, what it's got in store for us. So I'll check back in later.
The things you do on trail. Well, we made the trail split. And as you can see here, Low Gap goes left, Tecumseh Trail goes right. We're just going to follow this little fire road down towards Bear Lake. Entering Yellowwood State Forest. Looks like a new shelter being built. That would be pretty cool. This is just shortly after the trail split at Low Gap in Tecumseh. Maybe just a quarter mile up the trail from there is this brand new structure. That would be pretty sweet. Yeah, it really is. I like this drop down from the ridge down to the creek below as we approach Bear Lake here in a mile or two.
So we hit the bottom of the ravine. There's a nice little creek flowing through here before we get to Bear Lake, and we thought this is as good a spot as any. And we were both out of water from what we cooked breakfast with, so thought we'd stop and filter a little water and head on our way. That way we don't have to stop at Bear Lake. We can if we want, but this is about as clear of a stream as we could find, so it shouldn't clog up the filters too bad at all. So
tastes great.
Less filling.
Well, after heading down the ridge from Bear Lake, we get to the bottom of this climb up the next ridge. Definitely feeling this. It's warmed up quite a bit. I don't know what the temperature is, but sweating pretty good. Stopping to drink quite a bit. Need to drink more. It's beautiful out. Crossed a couple people, not many. I think a couple groups since we've been on trail. Sure can. This bridge looks in worse shape than the last one.
This is my stump. There are many like it, but this one is mine.
What a wonderful sight to see. Fox den, shelter, our stop for lunch. Shelter that way. Ranger station 13.9 miles that way. Carmel Ridge Road 1.3 that way. Hoosier National Forest boundary 27.9 miles to go. All right. Fox Den Shelter, Tecumseh Trail, Lutheran Hills. Pack it in, pack it out. Hiking on the road. How long are we on the road?
Quarter mile or half a mile, something like that.
Okay. I think we're coming to the end of our road walk. Well, we are just hiking down a trail here on our way to the Indian Hill shelter. We're about halfway between Fox Den and Indian Hill, so it's been not a bad section of trail. A couple little ups and downs,
from Fox Den. Short little section on the road, which wasn't too bad. And then back into this, a couple up downs, and now we're heading kind of down towards the road. And we've got one more water source before a big climb up to the next shelter. So a couple more miles to go. We'll probably stop there at the creek and resupply. Creeks have been pretty well stocked. They've been flowing pretty good, so we haven't come across any yet on the guide that are marked but are dry. Everything that's been marked has had plenty of water here this spring, so makes hiking a lot easier. This section of 10 miles or so, I don't think we've gone more than about 2 miles or so without another water stop possibility, so that makes it convenient.
This is a high-tech bridge here. Wow.
Worked out pretty
He's
darn
like
well.
cat-like.
Worked out pretty well. I mean, you
Yeah.
can splash in that pool if you want.
I am not going to film myself doing that. There will be no video evidence of anything. Wow, that's
Just
fun.
Put one pole on the bank and you'll be okay. Is this your river you're talking about? Or is there another one?
Oh, the water source? This is probably it.
Well, so we're probably on our last couple miles here before hitting the Indian Hill shelter. We crossed busy road, up and over train tracks, and then across the little river that's there, and resupplied all of our water, filled up everything, because it'll be a little flat stretch here, and then we've got to go around the backside of this next ridge and climb it all the way to the top. And from what the map looks like, it'll be a pretty steep climb, and then the shelter will be kind of back along that ridge a little ways. So maybe a couple more miles, which is good because it's about 6:30 right now. So, you know, we've got about an hour and a half to get a couple miles in, and then get camp set up quickly, find some firewood, and be ready to cook some dinner before the sun goes down. So we've definitely been mindful of our pace here the last couple hours, the last few miles, just to try and get there before nightfall. So, recurring theme of ours. Hey, we just want to be on the trail from, well, not dusk till dawn, because we get on at about noon, but until sunset, that's for sure. We both like to sleep in. Yeah. All right. I'll check back later.
We are gaining a lot of elevation quickly, which is good because we got to get up over that monster. We just switch back that all the way down and around the other side. We're almost there. Almost to the top. Alright, we see the structure up ahead, up on the next ridge. Pretty pumped. A couple hundred yards and we'll be done with our packs for the day. Whew, that was a brutal last mile. Here is the shelter. Alright, getting camp set up. A little bit of daylight still left. Grab my food bag and go over and start cooking. Shelter and fire pit. Picnic tables over that way. Brent's setting up camp
Still
over there.
setting up.
Still setting it up.
Well, good morning, everybody. It is morning of day 3. We've pretty much packed up everything, had breakfast. We're kind of in the final minutes before we hit the trail. We've got 11 and a half miles, something like that, today to do to the next camping area. So we've got quite a ways to go. It's close to 11 o'clock just before that, so we're going to get on the trail a little earlier than yesterday, but we're going to have a lot of hiking to do in the afternoon too, but we should have plenty of time to get it done. It was a good night. It was warmer last night. I slept a lot better. I didn't wake up at all in the middle of the night, probably just too tired, but ran into a couple folks here at the shelter. This is a nice little shelter that is recently built.
Charlie shelter.
The Charlie Shelter. So pretty cool. The two that we met, they were in here already. So, and we have hammocks anyway. But just to give you an idea, just a big open area and some information. So yeah, not a bad setup. Get you out of the weather. Really nice. I like this one even better than the Fox Den shelter. And this reminds me of the one that we passed close to the Morgan-Monroe Yellowwood State Forest line that looked like it was under construction. So we camped behind here. They've got a nice little setup. There's a fire ring with these huge boulders. They've got a picnic table for cooking. They've even got someone built a little tripod with lashing. So we sat around the fire last night for a little while and then just went back and picked some spots further back to hang the hammocks. There's lots of perfectly spaced trees through here to hammock. The only criticism I would probably have is at sporadic intervals that are at just about the worst spots are huge widowmakers. So you've got a dead tree here, you've got one over there, you've got one big one right there. So everywhere we went, there's one over there,
2 over here.
there's 2 or 3 over here. So if the State Forestry Service had come through and just dropped probably 6 or 7 of these, this would go from a site with a ton of potential to a pretty awesome site and pretty large. You could get quite a few people out here, whether you're tent camping or hammock camping at that point in time. But because of that, we walked around for like a half an hour just trying to find spots that didn't have a widowmaker hanging out right next to it, and we had a hard time doing that. So that was the only bummer of the site. We ended up finding less than great sites further back, but for what we needed, it was fine.
Hey, mine was pretty good.
Yeah.
I slept good, man. Mine was pretty awesome.
Yeah, mine was good. I slept well. I just was crawling over thorn bushes to get to it. So
It just took so long to find it.
yeah, it really did. So it's a cool site though. I really like that shelter. I thought it's really well done. That's a nice addition to the trail. I'd love to see more of those built further on down, because there's a camping area in about 11 miles, 12 miles, and then there's another one. Or is that the last one? I'm trying to think. That one,
We're at about 19 and a half miles. There's one at, I think, 31.
That's Yellowwood.
And that's the Yellowwood. Is there
And then
one
there's
beyond?
an inn.
Yeah, there's an inn that
But
you can
that's
stay
it.
at, but they're really, it'd be nice if they had one of these about every 5 to 7 miles on trail. I think that would be a much better experience for folks, and it'd give you better intervals to plan. How far do you want to do every day? Do you want to do some shorter days, some longer days? This, you're kind of locked into a couple different options. Either you're doing, about 10-mile days, you're doing about 15-plus-mile days to 20-mile days to get it done. So not a ton of choices, but so far it's been pretty cool. So I think we're about ready to get on trail. We'll check back in a little bit. We've got about a mile until we hit a water stop, I believe, and we're running low on water after breakfast, so we're gonna just hike down to there, take a break, fill up the water, and then get going, and then see if we can't get a good clip today and get some miles under our belt. So I'll check back later.
We're off.
I always say that every time we get around Pine Creek.
So we found this just, I don't know, half a mile down from the shelter we stayed at. It's like a little campsite here carved out right alongside the trail as you get closer down to the water source at the bottom. So, good to know. Didn't know this was here. Stopped, and our water stop filled up, liter and a half. We've got lots of different water stops along the next 10 miles. I think there's 4 or 5 of them, so no need to carry more than you have to. So it's cool to see the lines of the rock starting to show through as the creek wears away the mud. Yep, I think that was
Found the spot.
that was the good spot.
That's the spot, man.
Well, this is my favorite creek so far because we found the creek and we didn't have to climb a huge hill on the other side yet.
That's true. It's coming.
I've started to hate creeks on this trip, jokingly, because every time we find a creek, it means I have a huge hill that I have to climb on the other side, like that one. So I'm hoping we just follow this down to, I don't know, the edge of the earth and I don't have to climb anything. Alright, so the trail comes out right here, and then there's this massive tree that's down, and we see the blazes on the other side. But maybe it's fairly recent because there's no clear trail on this side. My guess is the landing for the trail is on the other side of that tree somewhere, so you can either climb underneath it, but it's fairly deep, or you climb here and crawl up the side of the wall and then climb over the tree and go.
There's
So-
footsteps over here, so apparently other people are taking this route too.
Sounds like a plan. Let's do it. Entering private property. Don't screw it up for everybody else. It's pretty much the summation of that sign. That's a cool looking mushroom.
Looks like flying saucers.
It does.
They got wedged in the side of the tree.
Those are pretty cool.
Really cool looking.
Made it to the top.
Well, we've been hiking 3-4 miles now. It's about 12:45. We've been following this creek for a little while here at the bottom. Just started sprinkling a little bit, so I put the one camera away for a little bit. Hopefully that's about all we get. A little sprinkle here and there, not too bad. But we do have a chance for rain growing later in the day. I think there's a 30% chance today and a little bit more tonight, so we'll just make do. It's been great so far. Nice and cool in the 60s. Just a little sprinkle there for the last couple minutes, but otherwise the weather's been great. So just taking a little break, and we'll get back going on trail now. So I'll check back in later.
I think I'm good.
I think we found our climb.
Yeah, I think so too.
Little section of road walk here.
Balance beam or double balance beam?
I think you gotta
Think
cross
balance
your
beam?
feet and go across. Now you're just showing off. Well, leaves are coming out here further south on the trail.
Gotta get the time selfie.
Which way do we go?
Right?
All right, you
go
first. Doesn't look so comfy. Maybe with like an air mat.
I think it's pretty comfy. I really do.
You're not
Better than
selling it
walking.
well. Yeah, it's probably better than walking.
Alright, onward I guess. I can quit playing around.
Well, we're almost there. We only have a couple miles maybe. Yellowwood Lake. Campsite should be on the far side of that. Yeah. Wow. That's crazy. It's all through here.
Like someone's playing a little game.
I like the sundial one. boat on the lake. A cool little section of trail. Here's your pine grove. You camp in that.
Be right next to the road, but it's huge. All the tree options.
Well, hey everybody, got camp set up here, Yellowwood State Forest campground. We grabbed a site, getting the tarps up. The clouds are rolling in, the wind's picking up a little bit. There's about 40% chance of rain tonight, so tarps are out for the first time for me, just in anticipation. It feels like it. We'll see if we get any rain or not. It's a nice little site. There's a little bit of activity here today. There's definitely people out on the water, but there's even a bunch of different families that are out here at the campgrounds, so it's kind of nice. We've got a spot here right by the picnic area, so there's a little pavilion out at the point, and there's some vault toilets. I haven't checked to see if those are open, but they've got some other facilities up there too. Most of the water and everything has been already shut off, so we don't have that kind of stuff, but we've got the lake right here, so we'll be able to filter everything that we need and get some food going. So I'll check back in later.
That one fits a lot of bottles.
Well, good morning everybody. We made it through the night with quite a bit of rain actually. We got a little blurb that came through right around bedtime, 10:30, 11 o'clock, was done in about 10-15 minutes, something pretty quick, and then woke up around 3:30, 4 o'clock, and it was just coming down, and it rained for quite a while, probably a good hour or so. So everything is just saturated. We've got a big day to go. We've got about 10.5 miles to get back to the main road, which our parking lot is an offshoot from that. And then we've got to walk from that last road about 1.8 miles down to the end of the trail, which is in the middle of the woods, and then turn around and walk the 1.8 miles back to the lot. So we've got some walking to do today. We're definitely getting an earlier start. What time is it? Let me look it up here. It's about 9:15, so we're just about packed up. Left the tarps up a little longer just to air them out because they're still soaking wet, but at this point I think I'm just gonna have to pack them up and throw them in the bag and carry them wet. So ate breakfast, had coffee, we're all set. It's comfortable now. It was chilly last night. I think we were down into the low 40s. The reading I saw was 42 degrees. My tent though was 56 when I woke up, so, or the hammock with the top cover on, so that thing does great keeping me warmer. So I was very comfortable last night, and it was even kind of nice to sleep and listen to the rain a little bit. So we've got a monster climb here on the far side of the lake to get us started, so not much of a warm-up today, and then get going. So last section of trail, excited to be done. Finish this off and head for home. So stick with us. I'll check back in later.
And we're off. We've got 10.5 miles, we think, and then probably at about 3.5 from there. So 14 miles today. Back out to the dam, go down past the spillway, across the creek, and then back up that big hill on the far side is our first climb back on trail for the day. Climb. First little plateau.
Over it.
Yeah.
We just started.
That's one heck of a climb to start the day. If you start at the Yellowwood campground, it's on the far side of the south end of the lake is the campground, way down there, and then you literally walk across the dam and then climb this guy, and we're not even done with it. We got to get up to the top of that little knobby point, but beautiful view from up here. Maybe stop and catch my breath. Okay, that's enough. I'm just kidding. Definitely been a few more like vistas from the southern end of this trail so far than the northern end. And the leaves aren't even out yet, so you would think you'd get more vistas than normal, but first half of the trail there weren't that many kind of high points looking over stuff. Few. Alright, let's finish this hill. That's awesome. Somebody put a bench at the top of this bad boy, which is good because I'm going to put my pack down and take off my R1 because I'm sweating, and do the old man thing and sit and look at the lake for a while. She's running ahead and stopping.
It's like, what's taking you guys so long? I know.
She wants to catch you.
I just called it.
We go that way. Big climb out of the ravine. We've been just walking along this gravel road here for the last mile or so. It's about 2 miles of it, and then we descend down into, I think it's Belmont,
Yep.
where we should have some road walk for just under 2 miles to get to the south end of town, get back on the trail, and then have a climb back in up onto a ridge. It's been pretty easy, so we've been able to keep a good pace. It's nice and cool. It's definitely overcast, a little foggy out in the distance, but making good time. All right, we're coming down the hill into town a little bit. Well, now we have a section of road that we have to hike down. There's not much space on it. We drove this on the way in to park, so this is a little less than ideal. Probably not going to be fun for our friends with the German Shepherd who are following behind us hiking this. Coming into Belmont here, there's the Hickory Shades Motel and Zoopolis, exotic petting world. I don't remember that on the hiking guide. Stopped here at the stream to fill up on some water towards the end of the road walk section here south of Belmont, and then we should be catching the trail somewhere down here, getting back up into the woods. So Haven't seen our friends come along just yet. They're still trailing behind somewhere, but maybe we'll see them when we get to the parking lot. All right, let's get going.
Do I get to switch back in?
You can if you want. You can switch back. Sometimes when they don't have a switchback, you just got to make your own. All right, we're back on trail, which is nice because my feet are a little sore from walking on the pavement for I don't know how many miles. We've got about 3.5 miles now of a little climb here and then a ridge walk back down to the road on the far side, and there should be pretty close to parking, and then we've got a section of trail that goes back into the woods after that to finish up the full thing. So the end is within sight, and I think we're all excited, both of us, to get done. He keeps talking about food. I'm getting hungry too. Pizza and beer. Yep, that sounds really good right about now. So not that much further to go. Feel pretty good today, although we're about 7 miles in. We'll see how I feel after this 3+ mile stretch. So check back in later. A little bit of logging through here recently. This hasn't been our favorite stretch of trail at all, with the road walk, and now this is kind of a logging road. You know, kind of reminds me of a horse path, just kind of dug into the ridge, so it collects all the water, so it's kind of mushy, especially with all the rain we got last night. A little less spectacular than yesterday's. All right, so we're kind of bummed out at this point. We got off of that like logging road, and
just a little.
yeah, now back onto gravel. So yay. Well, we're at least off the gravel, back onto a little dirt road path, continuing along this ridge. We haven't left the ridge. It's been fairly boring, but
Very boring day.
not a lot of changes. You know, we haven't gone up or down or walked along the side of a ridge for a while or any of that. So it's funny, we're actually not dreading the downhill and the uphill, just because we're thirsty for a little change. Funny how that's changed. In the woods, finally, heading down the side of the ridge down to the road below. I think they've done a pretty good job overall of marking the trail. For the most part, it's been pretty easy the whole way. Very different section of trail here now that all the underbrush is all greened up. Down here towards the southern terminus, getting closer. All right, we came down here to the road. There's a nice little bridge. The trail kind of comes out here on the far side down. You cross the bridge, come over here, and then behind me it picks up, heads that way, and then off to the side parking lot where you really should drop your car if
you're starting or finishing at this spot, instead of where it sounded like the guidebook said, which was down by the curve in the road, which means right now I've got to drop my pack and hike back down the road. I think it's a little more than a mile. Grab the car, move it up to this lot, come back and hike the rest of this. Brent's gonna sit and enjoy lunch while I do that. So, good tip. Look for the smaller lot. If you see a big lot that's paved that has a bunch of boat trailers in it, don't leave your car there. Keep going. Just a little bit down the road. So, that's all for now. I'll check back in later. All right, this kind of sucks. Hiking along this road. Down to get my car. Make sure you get the right lot. This is probably just a shade under a mile and a half, maybe, something like that. So, not really what I want to be doing right now. Brent's back there, sitting in his chair, eating lunch, but I picked the wrong lot. I gotta go get the car. Lucky me. Yay. Made it. Don't leave your car here. Alright, made the final lot. We are going to hike the last 1.8 miles up to the end in the middle of nowhere and then turn around and come straight back here. Hopefully it's interesting. Two big climbs from what I saw, so here goes nothing. Made it to the top of that first ridge. Final section. See a bench saying, have a seat. We got you to walk a long way. Haha. Well, let's do it. I see another blaze or two. I see a little sign. Woohoo! Well, that's it for today. We finished the Tecumseh Trail here in this pine grove in the bottom of this valley in the middle of nowhere. So our reward, other than we completed the task, is that we get to turn around and hike close to 2 miles back to the car. Had a great time with my buddy Brent. He's down getting another picture with the sign because he didn't like the first one. So I'm sitting on the bench enjoying a Snickers and the last of my Mike and Ike's and peanut M&Ms as a reward. So again, thanks for joining us, and be kind to everybody out there. Be well. Did you get a good one this time?
I got about, I don't know, 40 or 50 to pick from.
Well,
Sure, I'll find at least one that I like.
Maybe one.
New Facebook profile picture.
Yeah,
Sorry,
don't-
not falling on my face.
Don't trip there. Great way to end a video.
Oh, no. An even better way to end the video is talking about this pizza, this beer, and this nap.
That's right.
In that order.
In
this
that
time,
order,
not
yep.
reversed. Pizza, beer, nap.